Okay, so welcome guys to my YouTube channel. In this two-part series video, I am going to take you through all my Maisto toys collection, and I've ended up modifying these Maisto toys to look more realistic. Out of the box, some of them were not very realistic, so what I did was I modified their paint schemes to make them look exactly like the real ones. So the first part will deal with the aircraft from the 1930s to the 1960s, and the second part from the 70s till date. So let's get started. Okay, so what you see here is my collection of World War II aircraft from Maisto that I've modified. 4 of these are World War II, and this one is a Vietnam War era aircraft. This is the B-52. So one by one I'm going to show you the modifications that I made. So I'm going to start with the Spitfire here. So you can see there wasn't much in this. In fact, the entire propeller, it was painted black. So what I did was I painted the cone of the propeller gray, left the fans, most of the fans black, and I painted the tips of the fans as yellow. Plus another thing which I did was I added a lot of weathering to it. So you can see here at the bottom it looks weathered, it looks more used, you know, as if it's been in battle. So I've added that weathering effect to this, and here on top of the wings as well, you see those marks there. You see those streaks that you see out here. I'm not sure if you can see that on camera, but those streaks are all weathering streaks that I've added on top of this model to make it look more realistic. Okay, so that was the Spitfire. Okay, moving on. So this is the Vought F4U Corsair, US Navy aircraft. It was used extensively in the Battle of Midway, and this entire plane out of the box was painted blue. So what I did was, to give it more realistic effects, I painted the tips of the propeller black. I painted the propeller black and the tips of the propeller yellow, and I painted the entire bottom of this plane silver. So I'll show you a picture of the real F4U Corsair, and you'll see that the bottom of the plane was silver, whereas the top was actually blue. Plus this bomb, or the drop tank, I think this is a bomb that it carried. This was again painted blue on the Maisto toy, so I painted it black to make it look more realistic. Moving on to a very interesting plane, the P-38 Lightning. You can see that this is a double fin aircraft. It's got 2 different fins for vertical stability, and out of the box this entire plane was painted silver. And the propellers were painted black, the bombs were black. So what I did was I added the invasion stripes onto this. So you can see the invasion stripe scheme. This is what I painted on out here on the wings, and here right behind the engine. So as you can see, the propeller cone is painted red, most of the fan is painted black, and the tips of the fan are yellow. So that's what I did to give it a realistic look. Plus the bombs that it carried, so these were painted black out of the box. I gave them an olive drab look, so it looks more realistic now. Next we move on to the most interesting of them all. So I have the Mosquito here with me, and you can see out of the box this was a very childish green color that it had. So I modified the entire paint scheme into the RAF blue gray and the green camo on top of it. The propellers were completely black, so I painted them gray on the cones, and the tips of the propellers were painted yellow. Plus, the bombs that it carries under the wings were black, so I painted them olive drab. And finally, I weathered the entire plane. You can see those weathering streaks that are there under the wing, and here on top as well. I added a dark wash and weathered it, so you can see, I'm sure you can see the black streaks behind the engines. So that's how I modified it, and it looks much more realistic now. Okay, moving on to the jet age. This was the B-52 Stratofortress, very famous during the Vietnam War. It was used to carpet bomb the target areas. Now this model out of the box was entirely gray. The B-52H model is entirely gray, but I really liked this paint scheme that I saw somewhere on the internet. Somebody had painted it, so I wanted to make it look like the Vietnam paint scheme. So I painted the entire thing in the second bomb wing paint scheme during the Vietnam War, and it's turned out pretty cool.